One heck of a number. It's the best in the Pac-10. And there's the magician, Jamal Miles. He has escaped again. A high-speed chase. There goes Miles. 78 yards for the touchdown. Mr. All-Purpose has done it again.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Week 6 preview for Pac-12 football. Along with the UCLA Hall of Famer J.J. Stokes, Roxy Bernstein with you. And glad you're with us for another edition. And you can see the sign behind us. In addition this week to the show, all signs pointing toward the inaugural Pac-12 championship game coming up the first weekend in December. Let's take a look back at Week 5, J.J. Some great individual performances from the Pac-12 Conference. And we'll start a little bit off the beaten path. The Pac-12 Special Teams Player of the Week, Jamal Miles from Arizona State. Here's the only player in the country that has returned a punt for a touchdown. He's returned a kickoff for a touchdown. He's also thrown a touchdown pass. And he's also caught a touchdown pass. Jamal Miles literally does everything for Dennis Erickson's team.
It's a coach's dream, really, to have a guy like this, a guy that can do everything for you. Back in our day, we knew him as Slash for Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's this guy right here. Whatever is asked of this guy, he's successful with. And that, like I said, that's a coach's dream.
Well, Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week for last week was Matt Barkley, the USC quarterback, and he's having a record-breaking season for USC. A thrilling victory. They beat Arizona 48-41. He throws for a school record as far as yardage goes, throws 4 more touchdowns. Andrew Luck is the guy everybody talks about, and deservedly so, the Stanford quarterback and a Heisman frontrunner. But Matt Barkley certainly, I don't want to say he's a 1B to Luck being the 1A, but Matt Barkley is as good as any quarterback in the country.
There's no question he's just as good. He came in with a lot of fanfare, and he's lived up to that. As a freshman, being the only guy in USC's history to really start as a freshman in his first game. So that tells you a lot about what Matt Barkley is. This guy is living up to everything that USC thought he was and more.
How about Washington State? There's this high-powered offense that go on the road, and they pick up a win. The Cougars are 3-1.
The Cougars are. They're playing outstanding football, and they did it in the end. With 2.5 minutes left in the game, they find a way to score 2 touchdowns and come from behind.
Well, let's turn our attention now to this week's action in the Pac-12 Conference, and it gets kicked off 6 o'clock Thursday night, Autzen Stadium, Eugene, Oregon, where number 9 Oregon hosts California in a nationally televised game. And they've played some great games over the years. Last year went down to the wire. What are you expecting from this Cal-Oregon matchup Thursday night?
I think it's much of the same. These two teams have really figured out one another in their playing style. And I think for Cal, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to put man for man outside and use everybody at the front of the defensive front so that they can try to stop LaMichael James, slow him down. We've seen that blueprint earlier on in the year against LaMichael James. I think that's something that Cal is going to try to duplicate. And so they're going to have to take a lot of risks by putting everybody at the line of scrimmage to prevent LaMichael James from taking over and use that secondary man-on-man coverage where they could be vulnerable, but they can play well also and try to take advantage and win the game.
One thing to keep an eye on from this matchup is Cal has an outstanding rush defense, and they're going to try to slow down the nation's leading runner and Oregon running back, LaMichael James. All right, next up is a huge tilt in the Pac-12 South, a game that's going to have big implications on who wins the division and who represents the South in the inaugural Pac-12 championship game as Arizona State, number 22 Sun Devils, visit Utah in a game the Utes desperately need to get, JJ. They lost a home game to Washington last week. They also lost their quarterback, Jordan Wynn. John Hayes now has to step to the forefront. What can we expect from him in Utah hosting ASU Saturday?
Yeah, this could be a long week from the standpoint of John Hayes stepping in. He has to develop a rapport with his receivers. He has to get the timing down. That's something that needs to be done prior to practice and after practice, and you need to go on with the game plan during practice. So I think that's going to be a big step for John Hayes in that aspect. For me, the bigger picture, because ASU last week and Utah last week had 4 turnovers in one game and 5 turnovers in another game. So that's going to be a huge aspect in this game. Which team can get off to a fast start and play well with the addition of John Hayes coming in at quarterback? Can he perform well and keep this team moving forward?
Well, next up is number 4 Stanford hosting Colorado late Saturday afternoon on the farm as the Cardinal, ranked number 4 in the country. Nation's longest winning streak as they've won 12 consecutive ball games, coming off a thumping of UCLA where Andrew Luck was phenomenal in the ball game. And for Stanford, what do you see from this team, and do you see them getting better?
They do get better each week, and I'll give you an example of that in a minute. The thing that makes Stanford good is that they do their assignments well. You have a balanced attack on offense. Andrew Luck at the head. He's going to pass the ball well. He's going to provide time by the offensive line.
He's going to catch the ball.
He's going to catch the ball with one hand. And defensively, they don't make a lot of mistakes. That's what makes this team so good. They don't make a lot of mistakes. But if you look at Stanford, one thing that you have to look at, if I'm Colorado, is Colorado puts a lot of pressure on opposing teams' quarterbacks. And up until now, I don't think that we've seen that for Andrew Luck, because his offensive line have provided tremendous amount of time for him to really pick apart teams. So can they get to him? Can they fluster him? And the other aspect of it is, can they take away the tight end? Because that's the biggest aspect in the passing game. But they have taken it to a new level for Stanford, because now you hear Andrew Luck is calling his own plays at the line of scrimmage. That's much like Peyton Manning does, and we call him a great guy. So he's taken this to an all-time high by calling his own plays at the line of scrimmage.
Well, Saturday night at 7:30, 3-1. Yes, 3-1. Washington State, the first time the Cougs have been 3-1 since 2003. They're at UCLA, who desperately needs a win. The Bruins at 2-3. Marshall Lovestol, a huge comeback win at Colorado last week, the quarterback for Wazoo. What do you see from this matchup between Washington State and your alma mater, UCLA?
You know what? This is going to be an interesting matchup because, one, UCLA secondary is pretty beat up. A lot of the cornerbacks, Dalton Hilliard, Sheldon Price, Alex Mascarenas, are going to be out. At least they were a week ago. So can they bounce back with guys that aren't typically in there playing in the secondary? And against a team like Washington State with Marshall Lovestol, that's going to be a difficult task. The way they are playing offensively is tremendous. Coming from behind a week ago, scoring 14 points in 2.5 minutes to come from behind and get a victory, that says a lot about this team. And I think having done that, they only gain confidence, and it's all backed up by Paul Wolf, what he's doing out there.
Lastly, let's check out Arizona and Oregon State as the Wildcats trying to snap a 7-game conference losing streak. They're 1-4 on the year, while Oregon State looking for their first win. They're 0-4. This is two hungry teams going at it, but there's some bright spots, especially when you look at Arizona, what Nick Foles has done this year.
Nick Foles has done a tremendous job. He has 4 outstanding receivers that he can get the ball to. His back's out of the backfield. The running game hasn't been quite what we anticipated. Nevertheless, Nick Foles helps them overcome that. But the big issue for me in this game is, can Arizona apply pressure to Sean Mannion, a freshman quarterback? And for Oregon State, can they provide time? Because he is a freshman. He is learning the position still to this day. Can they provide time and let him sit back there and make plays? Because they have 2 outstanding receivers in Wheaton and Rogers. They can get it done in the passing game. In addition to that, they do have an outstanding tight end in Joe Halahuna too. Those 3 guys can get it done, but he needs time to get it to those guys.
Well, a new segment this week on our Pac-12 preview. We're taking your questions. You can submit them on Facebook, and you can like the Pac-12 Conference on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Pac-12 Conference and submit your questions for J.J. Stokes. Got a couple for you that we pulled out, and let's start with Zach, who has a question about Arizona State, J.J. Do you think ASU has what it takes to play for the Pac-12 championship?
Arizona State definitely has what it takes to play for the Pac-12 championship. They have an outstanding quarterback in Osweiler. They have a good running game in Marshall. And defensively, the linebacker core led by Vontaze Burfict, that can get it done. But they have to play consistently in order to make that happen.
The next question's from David. He wants to know, is Jeff Tedford the man? And is he the coach that can take Cal to the top of the Pac-12?
I think he definitely is the man for this job. He's an offensive guy, and I think offense wins games in this Pac-12. What he's done offensively, bringing Zach Maynard in, and what they've done offensively, he definitely shows you that he can take this to the next level. And defensively, they're strong. They're number 2 against the run. So I think they have what it takes, and Tedford is that guy.
That'll do it for our Week 6 preview of the Pac-12 Conference. Should be another thrilling weekend of football around the league. And we'll be back here next week to fill you in on what transpired and also get you set for Week 7 in Pac-12 football. So for J.J. Stokes, Roxy Bernstein, thanking you for joining us. We'll see you right here next week.